This is from Emma, in Amsterdam, Netherlands. I think some people underestimate how loud silence can be. Not yelling, not fighting, just the kind of quiet that feels like no one's really saying what they mean. That's the kind of house I grew up in. My mom wasn't distant, exactly. She just kept things tidy. Her feelings, her words, everything in its place. I always had a clean lunchbox and folded socks, but I don't think I ever heard her say, "I love you." Not once. And weirdly, that didn't seem strange to me at the time. Sometimes I'd catch her staring out the kitchen window, not really looking at anything, just gone. You could see it in her eyes. She was somewhere else, and I never asked where. We weren't the kind of family that asks stuff like that. It wasn't like we were cold. I mean, I knew she cared, but there weren't hugs. There weren't late-night talks or anything like that. If something was bothering you, you just dealt with it quietly, preferably by making tea or scrubbing a sink. But I loved her, like I really did. She was solid, dependable. She always showed up, even if she didn't say much. I knew what kind of mood she was in by how hard she shut a drawer, or how long she stood by the stove. One night when I was 12, I couldn't sleep. I had this tight feeling in my chest, probably my first anxiety attack, but I didn't have a name for it then. She came into my room, sat beside me, and just started brushing my hair with her fingers. Slow, steady, no words, and I never forgot how safe that felt. When she got sick, I didn't panic. I just switched into logistics mode. Hospital appointments, prescriptions, meal prep. I was good at that stuff. I didn't cry or fall apart. I just got efficient, like always. Some days she'd thank me in this soft voice, like she wasn't sure she should. I'd just nod and say, of course. But I'd go into the bathroom later and sit on the edge of the tub with the lid down. I wouldn't even cry. Just sit there, staring at the tiles. And then one morning, she was gone. No drama, no last words, just stillness. A nurse put a hand on my arm and said, "She's at peace now." I nodded like I was supposed to. I collected her scarf and her glasses in a paper bag and walked out into the cold without a sound. The funeral was small. A few neighbors. My mom's old friend from book club. No speeches, no slideshow. Just a priest who didn't know her, reading words that didn't sound like her. I sat in the front row, hands folded, trying to feel something. Anything. Afterward, I cleaned her apartment in one long weekend, donated her clothes, boxed up the dishes, canceled the utility bills. Every task felt mechanical. I kept telling myself I was being efficient, that this was the responsible way to grieve. But the truth was, I didn't know what else to do. People kept asking, "How are you holding up?" And I'd smile, that automatic, polite smile, and say, "I'm okay. It's been a lot, but I'm okay." And they'd nod, like that's all they needed. No one asked twice. I went back to work on Monday, sat at my desk, answered emails, ate lunch alone. Nothing felt real. I'd look around and think, how is everyone just living? Like nothing happened, like the world didn't even blink. A week later, the hospital called. They said I still hadn't picked up the last of her belongings. Some medical paperwork, her slippers, a small book she kept by the bed. I said I'd come by that day, but I didn't. I hung up and stared at the wall for an hour. That weekend, I finally went. It was cold and gray, the kind of weather that soaks into your bones. I took the tram, sat there gripping the handlebar, trying to look normal. I kept rehearsing in my head. Just go in, sign the papers, grab the bag, leave. But when I got off at the tram stop, I just stopped walking. My legs didn't move. I stood there on the platform, holding on to this metal pole like it was the only thing keeping me upright. And then it hit me. This wave of something. Grief? Guilt? Loneliness? I don't even know. My chest felt tight. My throat was burning. And suddenly, I couldn't keep it in anymore. I sat down on the bench, in public, in the cold, and I just cried. Not quietly, Not politely, just full-on sobbing, like every emotion I'd pushed down finally broke through all at once. FYI, when we lose someone close, our brain holds off the heavy emotions. It's called acute stress response, or emotional shock. Studies have found that grief can stay frozen in the nervous system for weeks, even months. One study from Columbia University found that people often don't feel the full emotional impact of a parent's death until long after the funeral. It's not weird. It's not unheal. I didn't even notice when someone sat down next to me. I just remember suddenly not being alone on the bench. No words, no questions, just presence. I glanced over, an older man, maybe in his 60s. He wasn't looking at me, just sitting there, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I wiped my face with my sleeve, trying to pull myself together. I was embarrassed, ashamed, honestly. Crying in public wasn't something I'd ever done before. But he didn't flinch. He didn't move away. He just stayed. For a second, I thought he might try to say something, offer a quote or some comforting advice, but he didn't. He looked straight ahead, hands folded, like he was waiting with me. Not for anything, just with me. Something about that, about not being asked to explain myself, made me cry even harder, but in a different way. Not desperate, not panicked, just releasing. Like the crying was finally allowed to happen now that someone was quietly holding space for it. I don't know how long we sat there. 10 minutes? Maybe 20? It didn't matter. There was something healing about not being alone in it. He wasn't trying to fix me. He didn't even know my name. But I felt seen. And strangely, that was enough. Eventually, I stood up. He nodded once. Just a small, simple nod. And I nodded back. No goodbye, no small talk. I walked off toward the hospital, still puffy-eyed and raw. But lighter. I never saw him again. Not on that tram line, not anywhere. But I think about him often. That quiet kindness. That silent permission to fall apart without needing to justify it. He didn't give me advice. He gave me space. And I didn't know how much I needed that until he did. That night, I sat on the floor of my apartment and let myself feel it. Not just the grief, but everything. The exhaustion, the loneliness, the guilt of not saying more when I had the chance. And for the first time, I didn't try to push it away. I didn't have some big transformation after that. There was no dramatic breakthrough or epiphany. But I started doing small things differently. When friends asked how I was, I tried, just a little, to tell the truth. Even if it was something as simple as, I don't know yet. Sometimes I think about things I could have said, like how I appreciated her showing up for me, even in her quiet way. Or that I really did love her, even if I didn't know how to say it at the time. But I waited too long, and I don't get a do-over. That guilt doesn't go away, but it gets softer. I also stopped pretending I didn't miss her. I started wearing her scarf in the mornings. I kept her teacup on my desk. I talked to her sometimes, not out loud, just in my head. It wasn't about closure. It was about connection. Quiet, but real. I never got the chance to thank the man on the bench. I doubt he even knows what he did for me. But I think about him every time I see someone who looks like they're about to fall apart. And sometimes I sit beside them. I don't say anything, I just stay. If this story feels familiar to you, I hope you know you're not strange for how you feel, or don't feel. There's no right timeline for grief, just the moments we survive and the ones that hold us together. What would you have done in my place? Share your thoughts below. Click a like and subscribe if you want more stories that speak to real, quiet moments like this.